is season 4 for The Witcher. Not looking good so far when it comes to the reviews. When it comes to the critics, right now they're at 55%. But when it comes to the fans, 19% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I'm the most annoying guy on set because I'm saying, excuse me, you do realize that this should be happening and they wouldn't do that, and you haven't read this, then that means this would be impossible. And everyone's just going, Henry, just shut up and do the thing. And I'm like, I don't want to do the thing because he wouldn't do it this way, and he can't.
Netflix didn't just pull the plug on The Witcher's future. Overnight, they turned the entire franchise into a battlefield. Executives reportedly held an emergency meeting before sunrise, ripping apart every decision that led to Season 4's collapse. And at the center of the chaos was one name being repeated like a warning siren: Liam Hemsworth. The man hired to save the series had suddenly become the symbol of its downfall. But what shocked the industry wasn't just the backlash, it was Netflix's reaction. Insiders began leaking messages that revealed a stunning internal purge. The company wasn't only reconsidering Liam's future, they were allegedly preparing to sever ties completely. Cold, swift, and absolute, it was the kind of decision that sends tremors through Hollywood. Then came the real explosion. Rumors surfaced that a female executive tied to Liam's casting was singled out during the crisis. One executive reportedly snapped, "She'll never work here again," as blame ricocheted through the room. Suddenly, this wasn't just a PR disaster. This was a corporate power play. And yet, even in the middle of the chaos, one question echoed louder than all the leaks and whispers. How did a billion-dollar franchise collapse so violently, so quickly, and with so much collateral damage? To understand the meltdown, you have to look at the decisions Netflix tried to bury. Because this wasn't just a failure, it was a storm years in the making.
Millions of people are canceling their Netflix subscriptions. Why Netflix stock is absolutely tanking right now. I mean, it is just collapsing totally in the red. And you can see that it is on a massive downward slope this month. It's cratering. Why is that happening?
Let me ask you guys something. Are you excited for Witcher Season 4?
Isn't it out right now on Netflix?
Just coming out, and the reviews have started to drop. So
because I looked on Rotten Tomatoes, and bear in mind, given the backlash, I would expect a little bit of review bombing. So people who haven't seen it but who hate the concept. Oh no, you're behind, Drinker.
It's down to. Has it changed?
It's down to 17.
Season 4 wasn't just a disappointment, it was a full-blown collapse the moment it hit Netflix's servers. Critic reviews dipped, but the real damage came from the fans, who shredded the season within hours. They blamed the writing, the tone, the direction, and eventually Liam Hemsworth himself, turning him into the face of the meltdown. And as the numbers nosedived, executives finally admitted what fans had been shouting all along. The show had lost its heart inside Netflix. Panic erupted as early viewership analytics came in colder than expected. Completion rates plummeted, engagement flatlined, and subscriber reactions turned vicious. Marketing had predicted a fresh wave of hype, but instead, they were handed a disaster they couldn't spin. And with every passing minute, the pressure inside executive offices multiplied. What made the situation worse was how avoidable the collapse seemed. Fans had warned Netflix about the recast, begged them to fix the writing, and demanded a return to the books. Instead, they got silence, until the silence turned into corporate rage. And that rage was looking for someone to blame. But the meltdown wasn't the end, only the beginning. Because Netflix's next move would spark a firestorm no one expected.
And I guess bringing in a new White Wolf at this point in the season, a bold move and a tall order for Liam.
And of course, he wanted to honor the character that had already been set up because he knows that he's stepping into a role. But at the same time, he wanted to make sure that his performance was authentic, that it felt like him, that he wasn't playing and mimicking anything. And so
behind closed doors, executives began drafting their response, not for the public, but for themselves. Early reports say the first thing on the chopping block wasn't the writers, wasn't the directors, but Liam Hemsworth himself. Internal memos hinted that the company was freezing negotiations for Season 5 before the week even ended. Liam's name, once pushed as the franchise's savior, was suddenly flagged as a liability. Allegedly, a quiet vote took place during a late-night strategy call. Executives agreed that continuing with Liam carried unrecoverable risk, a phrase that leaked hours later. They believed fans would never accept him, no matter how he performed, and the numbers only confirmed the fear. Netflix wanted to distance themselves before the backlash grew even larger. To the public, everything seemed calm, but inside, the knives were already out. Plans for future seasons were paused, marketing materials updated, and long-term contracts re-evaluated. The message was clear. Netflix was preparing to walk away from Liam completely. Yet he wasn't the only one caught in the crosshairs, because someone inside the company was about to take the fall even harder. While fans roasted the season online, Netflix's internal blame game turned brutal. Whispers claimed a female executive, one heavily involved in supporting Liam's casting, became the new target. Some insiders reported overhearing an explosive line from a furious higher-up, "She'll never work here again." A statement so cold and final, it stunned even veteran employees. The accusation wasn't that she caused the failure, but that she vouched for the direction that led to it. Executives needed someone to absorb the heat, and she became the convenient scapegoat. Projects she once oversaw were quietly reassigned, meetings canceled, and her name scrubbed from internal plans. Hollywood knows this pattern well. When a corporation panics, it erases people before it erases decisions. The industry caught wind fast. Agents whispered about Netflix's internal purge, producers suddenly distanced themselves, and studios grew wary. Blame was being weaponized, careers were collapsing, and the Witcher disaster became more than just a bad season. It became a political bloodbath. But inside the chaos, someone else was reaching their breaking point, because Liam Hemsworth wasn't staying quiet anymore. For weeks, Liam tried to stay composed as the internet tore his performance apart. Every trailer, interview clip, and leaked set photo was dissected and mocked with ruthless speed. He turned off comments, avoided social media, and stopped answering calls that weren't from family. But the silence from Netflix hit harder than any meme. They left him to drown alone. According to multiple insiders, Liam felt blindsided. He believed he stepped into a role already doomed, but expected Netflix to shield him from the fallout. Instead, he watched executives blame the failure on him while protecting the creative department. The frustration built until it finally erupted. People close to him describe him as exhausted, humiliated, and increasingly angry. He had trained, committed, sacrificed, and put his name on the line, only to become an easy target. And the more he learned about Netflix's internal decisions, the more betrayed he felt. He wanted answers, accountability, and someone to take responsibility for the disaster they created, not him. And that's what led to the meeting no one inside Netflix will ever forget. It began as a private discussion, but turned into a confrontation that shook the room. Liam walked in with reports, leaked analytics, and social feedback printed in his hands. He demanded to know why Netflix pushed a broken script, ignored early warnings, and tossed him into a firestorm without protection. His voice was calm at first, until it wasn't. Executives tried corporate talking points, but Liam cut through them instantly. He slammed the viewership report onto the table and said, "This isn't on me. This is on the decisions you made before I ever showed up." Witnesses described the room as frozen, the tension thick enough to choke on. For the first time, Netflix couldn't hide behind PR language. Then came the line that leaked everywhere within hours. "You wanted me to fix your mistakes," he said, "but all you did was set me up to fail." It spread across social media like wildfire, transforming Liam from villain to victim overnight in Netflix. They were forced into damage control before dawn, but the fallout from that meeting was only getting started. The moment Liam's confrontation leaked, Netflix went into full emergency mode. Executives who once spoke confidently about the show's new direction suddenly vanished from public view. Marketing teams were ordered to freeze campaigns, pause sponsored content, and remove scheduled posts within minutes. The Witcher wasn't just underperforming, it was becoming a liability inside headquarters. Panic was spreading faster than the memes. Departments blamed each other. Marketing blamed writing, writing blamed corporate blamed casting. Every meeting ended with more confusion than answers, and morale collapsed across the entire production team. People who had spent years on the franchise now felt the ground shifting under their feet. Leaked messages exposed the truth. Netflix had officially activated containment mode. They wanted to distance themselves from every decision tied to Season 4. No matter who got hurt in the process, careers were suddenly fragile, alliances shattered, and fear replaced optimism. And behind all of it was one unspoken reality. The Witcher's collapse was forcing Netflix into its darkest corner. But the fallout had only begun, because Netflix was preparing their coldest move yet. Hours after the confrontation, Netflix began quietly altering internal documents. Liam's name, once plastered across every pitch deck, started disappearing from long-term strategy plans. Future seasons, spin-offs, and marketing routes were rewritten to remove him completely. It wasn't loud, it wasn't formal, but it was unmistakable. Netflix was cutting him loose. Sources whispered that an unofficial pause directive was issued that same night. No new offers, no negotiations, no discussions about Season 5. Executives wanted distance, fast, and Liam was the first to be erased. The irony was brutal. The man hired to revive the franchise became the first casualty of its failure. But he wasn't alone. The female executive tied to his casting faced even harsher consequences. Her projects were reassigned, meetings canceled, and internal chatter painted her as the architect of a disaster. Netflix had turned the Witcher fiasco into a purge, and 2 careers were now hanging by a thread. Fans had no idea these decisions were happening, but the vibe was shifting globally. Industry insiders sensed Netflix was gearing up for a massive reset, and the entertainment world braced for impact because Hollywood still hadn't reacted, and when it did, everything changed. When news spread that Netflix was distancing itself from Liam, the entire industry lit up. Agents scrambled for answers, studios whispered warnings, and casting directors suddenly hesitated. Hollywood is a place where rumors are currency, and this one spread like wildfire. Netflix wasn't just backing away, they were burning bridges behind them. Executives from competing studios watched with wide eyes. If Netflix could turn on Liam this fast, who would be next? If they could exile an executive over one season's failure, what did that mean for everyone else? Suddenly, Netflix didn't look like a creative safe haven. It looked like a battlefield producers began calling the Witcher situation career radiation. Anyone connected to Season 4 risked being blamed or avoided entirely. Hollywood loves winners, but it punishes perceived failures with ruthless efficiency. And Liam found himself caught in the center of a narrative he never controlled. Meanwhile, fans kept screaming for one thing: accountability. And whether Netflix wanted it or not, all roads led back to the same person. The man whose absence haunted every frame of Season 4 because Henry Cavill's shadow was about to swallow the franchise whole. No matter how hard Netflix tried to redirect the backlash, one truth kept overpowering everything. Henry Cavill's presence still dominated The Witcher like a legend that refused to die. Clips of his most iconic scenes resurfaced daily, gaining millions of views overnight. Fans didn't just prefer him, they worshipped him. His dedication, his accuracy, his love for the lore became the gold standard for fantasy acting. And Liam, no matter how hard he tried, could never escape that comparison. Netflix's attempt to erase Henry, reshooting scenes, cutting old footage, hiding his face, only enraged viewers more. It felt like a betrayal, not a transition. Inside Netflix, executives quietly admitted what fans knew all along. Replacing Cavill had never been the real problem. How they replaced him was they underestimated his importance, disrespected the audience's loyalty, and gambled the whole franchise on a hope it couldn't carry. And the cost was catastrophic. By day 5, The Witcher 4 wasn't just a failed season, it was the symbol of everything fans hated about corporate storytelling: arrogance, distance, disregard for the people who built the franchise. Netflix didn't just lose a season, they lost the trust of millions. And that brings us to the final truth, the lesson Hollywood refuses to learn. The Witcher didn't collapse because of one actor, one director, or one storyline. It fell because the people in power stopped listening to the fans who made it a global phenomenon. Netflix thought they could replace passion with marketing, authenticity with algorithms, and loyalty with spectacle. But when a story loses its soul, the audience always feels it. Liam Hemsworth became the scapegoat, but he wasn't the villain. He walked into a broken system, a fractured writer's room, and a franchise already bleeding. He became the face of the fallout, even though the decisions that doomed the show were made long before he arrived. And Netflix's attempt to erase him only exposed their own panic. As for the executive who was reportedly told she'd never work here again, her story became the clearest reminder of how quickly corporations sacrifice people to protect their image. In a crisis, blame becomes currency, and someone always gets thrown under the bus. And Henry Cavill, he didn't need a statement, a comeback, or a confrontation. His silence spoke louder than anything Netflix could produce. Fans never forgot him, because he never forgot the story. In the end, Netflix learned the hardest lesson in entertainment. You can cancel shows, replace actors, rewrite worlds, but you cannot replace a connection the audience truly believes in. And once that bond is broken, even a billion-dollar empire can fall apart overnight.